Welcome to West of Tulsa. I'm CJ Ward, and we are broadcasting from Ventura, California. Where else? And again, we got most of the group here. We got Dan at the controls. We got Gabe here.
Yep.
Beth and Helm are not here, and there's a reason for that. And that's actually partly our fault because we've been doing studio work and we've messed up our shooting days. Mm-hmm. And with Beth, her schedule, and Helm and his schedule, they can't make it. But we're gonna get that fixed pretty soon.
Can you just digitally put them in?
We could use AI and just stick them in here. Yeah. Jeffrey Willerth. I knew I'd screw that up.
No,
Jeffrey Willerth.
And
all
you
night
practiced
long.
too.
I was practicing all night long to say it correctly. Jeffrey Willerth.
So dangerously close. You did great. Really. Story of my life.
And he is the vice president of the Z Club of America.
Yeah.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
No, thanks. I'm so stoked to be here.
You're a local.
I am.
And you were blown away that there was something called West of Tulsa down the street from you, wasn't it?
Exactly. First off, that just makes no sense at all.
It doesn't, does it?
No. Well, that's us. We don't make any sense.
No.
I love it.
Yeah, no, this is really great. And if I may, I want to start with a shout out to the show you guys did right before your break there with Christina.
Oh, yeah. Christina Jimenez.
So the fun part is my wife has known Christina for decades. And we were talking the other day about getting some more Z Club swag stuff going, and we should go talk to Christina. That's her wheelhouse. That's what she does, and so on and so forth. About that same time, maybe that same week, suddenly, what is it, Miss Motorsport?
Motorhead.
Motorhead. That's right. Thank you. Suddenly, I saw, they're following me now on Insta and Facebook, and I was like, oh, cool. Who are they? And I checked it a little deeper, and it was this whole program dedicated to women in motorsports. And I was like, I am so drawn to that, not for the stupid perv reasons. Here's my quick story for you about that. So I went to college I got my degree in broadcast management. One of the very first college things I had to do was work for the radio station at the school. And we were developing new ways of doing stuff. And they gave me the opportunity to go cover some sports. And they said, okay, I'll go cover sports. I said, but I'm going to start with racing, motorsport racing. This is down in Jacksonville, Florida. So I went to Gainesville for the Winter Nationals. And I'm there to get a story. Really don't have a plan or any background in doing this sort of thing. And I'm there. I'm telling this story for Dan, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's because my very first interview I ever did in my broadcast career was with Shirley Muldowney.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. Yeah.
And so here I am. I was just like, pretty much peeing my pants, nervous as all hell, had no idea what I was doing, and there was a huge crowd around her trying to get autographs and stuff like that.
It's a big deal.
And I managed to get her eye contact for a moment, and I said, hi, I'm Jeffrey, I'm with the college, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to... She takes me by the shoulder and takes me into her trailer, her car trailer. So we were away from everybody and gave me this really great, really endearing, sweetest person ever interview. And I guess I just tell you that because that's how I first yes, women can be good racers, are good racers.
Yeah.
It's not about your sex. It's about your capability as a person, as a human,
Yeah.
And so to watch that now, I'm like such a huge fan of Catherine Legg and the team that she's put of women together running in IMSA and the drag racing. There's so many women are in drag racing right now. But sports car racing is happening. Bikes, I'm seeing that down under in Australia. They're getting, so it's like, yes, absolutely. Why is there even a perceived barrier about that? That's just BS right there.
And Shirley Muldowney was a long time ago too. It's
Hey.
I know I'm from the same era, but she was a big deal, and that was quite a while ago. So what probably 80s?
That was 78, yeah.
Okay, 78. Okay, getting close
76.
enough. Yeah, okay.
76.
So when we were discussing Shirley Muldowney and at finding out what her nickname was or whatever, did you know when you were watching?
Absolutely. You didn't even get the question out, and I was like, it's Cha-Cha.
I'm the one who knew, at least. I'm the one who knew, so I get credit for that one.
There you go. You absolutely
Good job.
Is that a flex?
That's a flex, man. That's my non-car guy, truck guy flex, right?
I guess in the geriatric community.
In the geriatric community.
Sorry.
Be careful whose company you're in right now.
I know.
You're outnumbered, but
Don't beat me up, please.
Vintage is a better word.
vintage. There you go.
Oh, are you beyond classic?
Absolutely.
Oh my! So we're actually here partly to talk about Z's, which I think is one of the coolest cars of the 80s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
And the Z car, when I was in high school.
90s. Don't forget about the 90s. The 300ZX was no joke.
Again, I'm going with the generational thing here. When I was in high school, I graduated high school in 81 and a half. That's a different story. But when I was in high school, late 70s, that was one of the coolest cars out there, the Z car. If you could have one of those cars, and then I just love. And I mentioned before we started the show, my youngest daughter's Natalie's boyfriend Jake. One of his favorite cars is a 240Z, 280Z, whatever. But he would love to have one of those cars. And younger generation they're loving these Zs.
I don't think that age has no bearing on that.
No, it shouldn't.
They're I remember seeing the very first advertisement in one of the hot rod or magazines or whatever I got back in the day, and as soon as I opened that page and just saw the lines of that car, I was just it was clearly, even though I was young still, but it seemed like that was the poor man's Jaguar. Yeah. That was the XKE of my generation, and so I was just blown away by it right away. And then it took a while before they were actually in the States, and one of the teachers at my elementary school bought one right away and showed up. And so I remember walking out of the school building, and he got that really, I don't even know what the color is called, but that really crappy yellow lime kind of.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I kind of dig it though.
Yeah.
You do?
It's so funky that you kind of
Yeah.
No, that's the kind of stuff my dog leaves on the floor, and I have to clean it up. That's not good.
I want to take him to the vet.
But I remember going over, just like in the classic child, my face and hands pressed up against the window, looking at it, and I was just, I was so stoked. So it's always been there.
The Z Club, when we were talking on the phone, setting this all up, the Z Club of America's had a really interesting, it's taken an interesting path to get to where you are right now. So give us a little bit of history on who started it, how it kind of went dormant for a while, and then how you kind of gave it the spark again.
Well, there you go. That story's over. What do you want to talk about?
Well, my dad had a Z, and
see,
I figured I would give the highlights, and you'll give the details.
No, we don't have enough time or beer for that. But it did. The Z Club of America started in 1971 by Joe Casella, who, fast forward to today, he now runs NASA Northeast, the Northeast division of NASA sports car racing. And he's been doing that for a long time. And he is the most qualified guy to do it. And he is one of everyone involved in NASA in the Northeast region, and probably throughout the whole NASA organization, all know Joe as Papa Joe. He's just that guy and always has been. And he's a dear friend. We just love this guy to death. I shouldn't say death at our age. He started it right away. If you really, really, really want the details, you can go to our website, zclubofamerica.com, and in our legacy section, you can hear some interviews I did with Joe where he kind of tells his side of the story. But they started, as soon as he got a Z, started messing around with it, didn't like the way it handled quite right, thought maybe he just could change some shocks or change some tires or change some, just make some tweaks that would help it perform just a little bit better, and started doing those literally curbside. This is in the northern New Jersey area. And one thing led to the next, and he started to see that more dealerships had cars, and more people were buying the cars, more people were saying, this could handle a little better, and he was like, bring it over, and they'd start working on cars. So then they started thinking, okay, we need to make these parts because everybody's going to want to make these modifications. Somewhere along the line, he gets the idea of putting together the car club specifically for them. And he starts that with a wonderful, simple motto that we still use today. Z Owners Unite.
Right to the point.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's still what we do. And it's still the basic fundamental function of the Z Club of America. You know, whether you're two friends in the same town, or you're on the other sides of the planet, or you're looking for a club, or you just moved somewhere and now you need to, I'd like to think of us as sort of like the museum you have here,
Yeah.
is just somebody who can become that resource. And if we don't know, which happens 99% of the time, I don't know, we go do the homework and find out.
Sure.
And just spread the word that way. So the club gets going 1971. Lime Rock, Connecticut. Lime Rock Park was the closest track, one of the most popular and fun ones to be on. And so Joe starts renting the track, which was actually affordable back in those days, and started inviting people out. And you've seen the photos. We used to just get a gazillion Zs that would all show up, and they would be there whether it was snow, whether it was rain, whether it was hot summertime. And we called them driving experiences or driver's schools at the time. The track day wasn't a thing yet, but that's exactly what we were doing. And I joined. So that's how they really got started and going through it. You go a few more years, the 260 comes out, the 280 comes out, really getting to full mass. I could be wrong about this, but I think Joe quotes something like 20,000 members across the country.
Wow.
Now, they're not all coming to Lime Rock to do these events with us, but we're getting really great turnouts. Then comes the 280ZX, then comes the 300ZX, and these cars are not the same DNA.
Yeah.
These are cushier cars. They're funner. They've got more gadgets and bells and whistles and things to do, and wheels that are supposed to get your attention rather than perform the way you'd really like them to perform, stuff like that.
Especially on a track, right?
Especially on a track.
Yeah.
Aren't they like much, much heavier too? They're like the ZXs, I remember.
Slightly larger than Jupiter. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember talking to some car guys back then. My uncle had a 240. And when they came out and they were like, it's like a Cadillac Z. It's just,
you talk to any 240Z owner and you ask them about what do they think about the 300, especially the 300 from the 80s, and they're just like, yeah, right, dude. Yeah. Like it's a 240 or 260, and even that they're kind of crossing the line a little bit.
In the early 280s.
Yeah, then in the 280s, yeah. But anything past that, they're like, nah, those are nothing.
They're kind of, that's all. They just didn't have the same DNA. They're great for other applications. So the net result was we started getting less and less membership coming to the events and being there. So we really had to start opening the door to either Porsche Club or Corvette Club or whoever else was, interested, just so that we had the number of cars we needed to make the math work so that we weren't losing our shirts every time, I joined probably, I think it was like 1983 is when I had always wanted to be a racer since I was a little kid, and that's just what I turned into. And it was weird because I just never had any, like, my dad wasn't a racer guy. Nobody in my world. I don't know how I got that. It was just
happened.
God said, we're going to work on that guy for a while. So I started getting it as soon as I got in New Jersey, you had to be 16 and a half years old before you could get your student permit. And I got mine on a Wednesday. That Friday night, I had thrown an older buddy in the car with me who had a driver's license, made it legal for me to drive. I took my car out to the drag strip and started racing.
Yeah.
I wasn't 48 hours into ownership of a temporary driver's license, and I went drag racing right away.
That's hardcore.
That is. So I proceeded in my racing, to just, I wanted to just keep doing it, but clearly this is an expensive thing. And so I did everything I could to try to, make the money to make it work for me, but the limitations were there. I said, okay, well, I'll do it like the real racers do. I'll go get sponsors. So I started running around and knocking on doors and trying to get sponsors. That doesn't work either. You have to be someone. You have to have a reason that they would want to be involved.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, harsh wake-up call. Thank you. And And then one day all of a sudden it hit me, and I decided the only way I'm going to be able to finance my racing is I have to create my own company. So I built a trucking company, a courier service that served all New York metro area and that sort of stuff. And in the early days, there were a lot of times that I would have to, literally take the call and say, "Oh, you want me to pick up your package and take it to New York? Okay, great. Click, hang up, run out, get in the car, drive over to their place, get their thing, run, and do it all myself." And I remember driving through Clifton, New Jersey one day, and here was this. It obviously had been built as a dealership, but it was a small building by today's standards. And what caught my eye was there was a Z race car in the showroom window. And I still to this day, I can feel how hard I hit the brakes to stop right there in the middle of the road and then find a way to pull over. And I went over because I just had to see this. The place was called the Z Center. And they had nothing but Z cars in there. It was all Zs. And this was Joe Casella's business.
Oh, wow.
So that's how he and I connected. And he says, "Yeah, you should join the Z Club of America." And I was like, sign me up right here, right now. And I don't remember exactly how much time afterwards, but not long after, I went back to him and bought my first 240. Wow. And I think in totality of my life, I've had 7 Zs now. Most all of them were from, that I bought at the Z Center from Joe. So that's my integration into the legacy. The Z Club continues to move along, and we get to a point where now there's like hardly any Zs showing up, and we're just sort of mishmashing all kinds of cars in what would today be a track day event. And in fact, we even changed the name to the PDA, the Performance Drivers Association, because that just seemed more, why call it the Z Club of America if you've only got 2 Zs showing up and Joe's got one and I've got the other. That was like not doing much for it.
Is this kind of like the late 80s? Is that kind of in that area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Probably right around that 1990-ish.
So would you say the evolution of the club kind of followed the trend of the Z?
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, the next gen of cars just didn't.
Because I'll tell you, when I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, there's 2, maybe 3 shops that I knew of, performance shops, that only worked on Zs. Only. And it was not the new stuff. It wasn't the 80, it was only the 240, 260, 280 Zs. Yes. And those started dying off.
Absolutely.
And by 2000, there might be still one available or still around, but the popularity seemed to wane, after. And now with the new Z coming out, I don't feel like there's a resurgence yet. The new Z is interesting, the 400 or whatever they call it now, or the Z, but I don't think people are clamoring to it like before. Like, even the 300ZX,
Well, I have a position on that.
Oh, well, let's hear it.
So the resurgence is happening. Absolutely, it's coming back
with the new car or with the older
cars? The new
cars?
car is what helped spur it.
Okay.
Okay.
And in fact, it was the announcement that there was going to be a new Z around 2019, the end of 2019, 2020. That's really what prompted me to get. It helped seal the deal for me to decide I want to take the Z Club and reinvent it and bring it back to life, because now's the time. If we're coming out with a new Z again, the world will get excited. There'll be all kinds of buzz about it, and this is the opportunity to, oh my gosh, Z owners unite, do it again, keep doing what we always had done. So I really think that your observation is accurate, but it's not because they're not interested. It's because Nissan has just kind of done a crap-ass job of getting the cars into the marketplace and into I don't understand the math of how that works for them, but they must know what they're doing.
Sure.
But it just sort of seems to me, if you're going to announce a legacy vehicle like that, not like you're coming out with something new, with all that great heritage, that you're going to have all kinds of excitement and times, but you can't then go, oh, well, you in Detroit, I'll send you one, and you in Tulsa, I'll send you one.
Yeah.
And it's like, get the truck and trailer here and watch them come off the trailer, and every dealership should have them in the,
I think Toyota did that too with the Supra, the new Supra. I was like, I was hot, but I drove one. I was like, oh, this thing's pretty sweet. I don't care. It had a BMW engine in it. It was fast. but it was hard to get one. Their prices were high, and then people were like, screw this, I'm not going to buy one. Now people are selling them, and it's still high, but there's a lot sitting on lots because no one wants, because that whole spark, that whole like excitement of the new Z, the new Supra, and then they made it so you can't literally, like a regular person just can't go get one.
Right.
On top of the price being astronomical.
It's definitely a mismarketing opportunity for sure with both cars, I think, based off what I've seen in the press and YouTube and reviews and so on. It's like great cars, but kind of fizzled out, like they didn't capitalize, like you said, Jeffrey, with the history. The history is amazing.
It really is.
The lineage.
And Nissan always is so open to grassroots motorsports within the Z family. They're just so, they really love that sort of stuff. They use it to their advantage. But they never put the money up to help us make it bigger or better or badder. They never did.
I'm thinking of Mazda. Remember
that was just.
I'm thinking of how good they are.
Mazda is excellent at that.
Yeah.
Granted, they're not. Probably always delivering what people expect, but they do get behind. I mean, they literally get behind 7-stock every year, even though it's features a motor that they don't even make anymore for production,
right?
But they get behind their motorsports.
The name.
And it goes at ebbs and flows, but they're always behind it. And I think that's a really cool thing because the Mazda fans, they are diehard. Z guys, I would imagine they're the same, but there's probably lots of frustration because the manufacturer's not backing them up with something that they could use, But I could totally see that, But do you think that's the key to sparking like the resurgence as far as the manufacturer getting behind the motorsports?
I can't see that hurting from the window I look through. Again, corporate may have a very, very, very different version. But, the trend has been there. Like the 350 and the 350, they sold a bunch of those. Yeah. They did good with that. 370, not so much.
But that was an attainable car, especially for drifters. That's like the cheapest drift car. Yeah, but like even back when they were new in 2002 or 4, I was choosing between that and the S2000. And the only reason I didn't buy the Z, because I was originally going to buy the Z, they wouldn't let me test drive one. I was like, wow. so I bought the S2000.
That does make a difference. I mean, I've had the same experience over the years. It does. But you want to get in, you want to feel it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The only car I bought that I didn't test drive, but I came close to it, was the Type R. And when I went into the dealership and I said, hey, I'd like to test drive one, they laughed at me. They go, no, you can drive one of the regular ones and we can just tell you, the R is much better, but you got to place an order for it. So I did. And I placed an order. I get it maybe 6 or 7 months later. But you're right. If you walk in, you want to test drive something, get the feel for it, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So they announced the new Z. You pick up the phone and you call Joe.
I did. I called Joe and said, hey, is the Z Club of America, is that still a legal entity? And he goes, as a matter of fact, it is. And I said, perfect. Give it to me and let me run with it. And he's all on board. He's like, absolutely, no problem. So so this gets us into the other conversation. I'll just finish that out. So then I take over. I decide this is what we're going to do. And I always just stayed true to what worked for us back in the day, because it's the same cars, the same mentality, the same passion that courses through your veins. If you're a Z guy, you're stuck. There's like, I used to be into Z's, I'm not into that. No, you're always. You may not own one, but you're
a lifer.
You're a lifer.
You notice them, and you want to
Scarlet A on your Scarlet
Z.
Jeff, Gabriel and I worked on a documentary called Pure Drifting that we shot back in, I think it was 2003.
Yeah, 2 or 3, something like that.
2003, and that was the first time I had seen D1 drivers in person out at Irwindale. Even in the parking lot, D1 guys came out to practice, and a couple of them brought their right-hand drive cars over on a boat from Japan, and one of them had a 300, and I remember seeing that guy. That guy was, I wish I could remember his name, but badass driver. I mean, really amazing to see that car sideways going 90 miles an hour a foot from a K-rail. It's just like, wow. Amazing, but such a big, heavy car for drifting compared to the Corollas and the other cars that people were using. But it was really impressive to see a pro Japanese driver take a 300 out and just
throw it around.
Throw it around, and just it was jaw dropping.
They created the art. They really did.
Yeah,
for drifting. So, I'll just fast forward to this past month. In March, actually, it started a year ago. A year ago, VARA, the Vintage Auto Racing Association, had posted, I saw online, that they were having an event as part of their annual racing schedule. They were going to have the very specific thing that was going to be called the All Japan Showdown, where just Japanese cars were going to race. So when I saw that, I contacted VARA right away, and I was like, I want in. Like, how do I be a part of this? And they were like, wow, we've never had anybody call. What do you want to what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'll sponsor it. I'll buy all the trophies and stuff like that. And they were like, you'll buy trophies? And I was like, yeah, I'll buy trophies. Oh, okay. So now so we had the event. It worked out really great, very interesting. Got a call this past January. They said, hey, guess what? We're doing that All Japan race again. Do you want to come back and do it again? I said, absolutely. But this time I got a different plan. And what I did was I contacted 4 other prominent Z clubs in Southern California here, the Group Z out of the Anaheim area, Empire Z out in Riverside, San Bernardino area, West Coast Datsun out of San Fernando, and Vintage Japanese Motorsport, or Motor Union, and he's down in LA proper.
Savant.
Yeah. Exactly. So the 5 clubs that, we don't have turf wars or anything like that. We all know each other. We all love each other. It's really like we all respect each other so much. And we all have our own little different lane, and that's why it works so well. So I said, guys, I have this opportunity. I did it last year. I think we can do it again. And they were all on board. I was like, yes, we could throw a really nice bash. And then I said, but wait, let's not make it Z specific. This is a golden opportunity for us to now bring the whole SoCal JDM community together. No one's done that. SoCal has a car culture that really isn't available anywhere else on the planet that I can think of.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I really, jumped on this. It may be the Z guys who are leading the charge, but we want everybody. This is one giant group hug.
Oh, smart.
So the event worked out great for us. We only had like 60 days to whip it together. So there wasn't a lot of planning and stuff to market and understand and challenge people to try to tell us way in advance if they were coming. So we had some clue. Is it going to be 20 people, 50 people, 500 people? Who's coming to this? We wound up bringing about 150 people out there, which was more spectators than VARA, I think, had at least for quite some time. And even the folks at Willow Springs, where we held the event, they were blown away by the extra people. So we learned a lot of great lessons about, okay, good, now we know how to make 2025's event even better, how it will really resonate, really work. We'll have an opportunity to be way ahead on our marketing and that sort of stuff. So super, super stoked that we got that done. But most important, and the reason I tell you all that is not to boast, it's because that's what Joe did in 1971. That's where I still just hang on to this legacy, and I'm just going to continue that messaging going forth. That's my Z Club of America story.
And what you're talking about here, you can just feel the momentum just from what you're talking about. So you're right. 2025 is going to be bigger,
huge.
And now that everybody, the whole world has seen it on West of Tulsa, now it's going to just explode.
You guys are going to have to pick up the chairs and come on out there, and we'll do the show out there.
There you go.
Well, when we had Frank De Jesus on the show from OJCM, the old Japanese car meet guys, and he's connected to Savant as well, and they do stuff together. And I think he would agree with you 100% because he's all about, his meet is specific for only one thing. It's got to be Japanese and it's got to be a classic.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's funny, we went out, Helm and I went out to his meet just a couple weeks ago, and I haven't been out there for years, but you find how many young people are part of it. And it's usually like the dads bring in their kids who are now 18, 20 years old and driving the car that they had when they were 18 or 20. Yeah. And the kids all into it and say, yeah, we're going to do this. But they're not trying to do like the new kid thing with like, try to camber it out or make it like, whatever, fad that's been going on. They're trying to be like, I want to go old school with it. I want to keep it like how my dad had it. I'm like, that is cool, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a cool thing because kids can't get into new cars these days, affordably, so they're going and trying to find older cars that they can mess with, and maybe the older the better now.
So I think the other thing that's if we go back to the resurgence idea, track days are such a thing now. That is such a huge business. Didn't exist for most of my racing career. It just wasn't really hardly a thing. Now it's hedge fund companies that have little divisions that say, hey, let's go, we'll start this, that, and they're making money off of there, and they're traveling around the world, or the country, and it's really getting big.
Yeah.
Great opportunities for the youth to get in and start. Yeah. So now that they may not have to fix the car up, or trick it out, or roll cage it, or anything, just come on out and have a fun day with the family, and you're out there. The number of events are getting huge. If you want to participate with one of these groups, you typically have to make sure that you buy your way in, months in advance, because it's so popular right now.
Yeah.
Again, take me back to the legacy. It's like, get your Japanese car onto a track, go have fun.
Yeah. And you don't need to do much to it, just safety equipment, and seatbelt and good tires, and you're good to go, and you can have a great time. I had the most fun at Streets of Willow, which was my favorite track. I had the most fun when my 240 was stock. When I started doing all this power stuff, and that's when all the headaches happened, and I was like, this is more of a headache than I wanted to deal with. But I just had fun going out there, and I think I agree with you. And what's sad is, especially in California, where the number of tracks is very small and
getting smaller
across the country too. But I hope that this resurgence of track days. Even Christina's putting on one with the Drift Depot team over at I forget where they're going to do it at, but they've got events, women focused events, but they don't want it to be just women. They want it to be everybody as well. The more times we see this stuff, maybe somebody like one of these hedge funds guys, like, let's build a new track. Get people off the streets doing stupid stuff. That's how I started drag racing on the streets, and then I moved it over to the track because I realized, I don't have to worry about cops no more. I can trailer my car, be safer, have more fun, and less worry, and then go home and I won't do it on the street no more.
Sure.
So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if people will start, hedge fund guys or money guys just start putting money into facilities, because I think it will do really, really well.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It is just happening.
Now, talking about the youth and the resurgence of the Z Club, I would imagine you want to put a call out to some of the youngins, if you will, that are out there that, haven't joined the club. But it would be fun to bring in more youth.
I think I've been pretty successful in carving that effectively for us, and sadly, it's all on social media. It's sort of just how you have to communicate. But,
sure.
We really just function quite well on Facebook, where I'm obviously reaching the older audience, and Insta, where I'm bringing, the kids are getting out, finding it more easily. So you talk to both of those communities, and that's all the communication I need. I don't need volume. I need quality.
Right.
I'm not into like, oh my gosh, you guys only have this number, 1,000, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but every one I have, they really are Z owners. They really are into it, and they really do come.
I feel like that's you're speaking directly about West of Tulsa, because we don't have a huge following, which by the way, we hit 500 followers. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
But you know what? That 500, I'll tell you right now, I see the engagement with that 500.
Yeah.
They believe in what we believe, and that's what we care about, is sharing these stories, preserving the legacies, and carrying them forward. That's really, because everybody has a story. And again, I'll sound like a broken record, but this is the plug, is that we care about your story. Everybody thinks that, like, my story's not that important, not many people care. Like, I guarantee you somebody will care about it, because somebody could relate to that, because you're a human being just like the other person, So I feel like talking about getting the youth involved in how you're connecting, you're using a format that's, it's available to all of us. We're using it too. Instagram is a great way to connect, but it's funneling everybody to the experience. That's what you're trying to put together, is the experience. And it's not just the Z. It happens to be the Z, that's your platform, but it's that experience of everybody getting together, sharing something in common, and enjoying themselves.
There
right?
You go. Yep.
Are you seeing more local chapters popping up?
Not in a great quantity. There's a new club in the San Fernando Valley, Wild Ones, and I know David and Ariel. They've been actively trying to put on car meets on a regular basis. They kind of get together every Wednesday night, and they're Z people, but they quickly let any other JDM in, to their meets, and they just a few months ago formed their own. So we'll see what they do. I'm behind them. I back them in any way that I can, try to help promote their events that they're doing and stuff like that. So there's that's happening. I'll tell you what eluded me when I was putting together the stuff for this All Japan Showdown event we did. I had a hard time. I mean, you're trying to invite the JDM community. So I was like, okay, great. Well, let me just contact all the Honda clubs. Let me get all the Mazda clubs. Let me go get the Subis. Let me get, I had a hard time finding them. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're not there, but they weren't there, or at least not, So, and since 2020, when I was first getting we were all sitting inside for COVID, I really started digging in. I did a lot of research on car clubs. I was like, okay, how is this pandemic going to affect the social aspects of a car club? It shouldn't kill the car club, but I can understand you guys all just going to have to talk to each other or have Zoom meetings or what do you.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed by the number of clubs that just shut down, just stopped, just like Ice Age or apocalypse. It just stopped.
Because as we emerged from the pandemic, what was the one thing everybody wanted to do?
Get together and get out there.
They wanted to get together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Christina hit on that. She said that COVID did something to people in the car community, because when we were able to come out again, it was a little bit more of like a friendlier, a tighter, more camaraderie, because we were like, I don't want that to ever happen again. Let's stay as close as we can, and using social media to do that, to at least break the ice, to get the connection going. And then because back in the 90s, car clubs, racing crews, car clubs, cliques, whatever you want to call them, they were everywhere. You can see a sticker on everybody's cars from whatever club, and that has dwindled down. I think now, though, since everybody wants to be connected again and friendly and whatever, they want to be one big group versus a bunch of little cliques. Although I do see some clubs, at least locally here in Ventura, that are starting to come up. But I think that idea of the car club, maybe people don't know about it. You know?
This is exactly the stuff that I banged my head against the wall doing. Was trying to figure out what does this mean? How are we going to be? How is it going to function? And the one thing that came to me pretty quick on is, okay, if you're going to be the Z Club of America again, and you really want to reach out to America again, then there's not a lot of upside to me saying, okay, send me your $30 and I'll send you this shirt and you'll get a weekly newsletter and whatever the classic traditional model.
Right.
I'm not sure that works anymore. What's the up?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
To what end? So back to your question about have I seen new chapters? No, not really. Some new clubs popping up that are same situation. Pandemic's over, we're getting together, and hey, let's just make this a club.
It's a different form. Yeah. It's coming back in a different way.
I don't think you need chapters as much anymore, because accessibility is better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
I can reach somebody across the world, not just across the city.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't need a chapter. You need one big organization that everybody has the platform to communicate on, whether it be Instagram or whatever. But the Z Club, we're all Z people from all over the world, instead of the Z guy in the West Coast and the Z guy in the
So I guess
East
my
Coast.
question would be this. And so instead of, are you seeing more chapters popping up? Let me ask you this. If somebody's listening to this and they want to get involved, how do they get involved? How would they reach you? How do they? Well, because that's part of what we just talked about. Big community.
Yeah.
If somebody's listening to this and they got a Z or they have an interest in Zs, how do they participate in this?
Yeah. So this is one of the paradigms I had mentioned right before we started recording, was that so I'm here in Southern California, and that's where we've got this chapter that operates. And we have another chapter in Dayton, Ohio, which is serving our Midwest area, and they're doing their own events and building things. So that works. It works in the same method is the old traditional without the nuance of, let's all get together and eat at Denny's on a Thursday night, that sort of crap.
Yeah.
And we, Z Club again was originally in New Jersey, so we still have a contingency there, but I don't have a proper chapter. So I do believe you have to have some boots on the ground if you're going to put on an event. Right. Someone who actually coordinates that thing. That doesn't mean that it has to be a full, club or everybody stands around and votes, who's going to do what. And So to reach us is really, the nice thing is I don't have to work very hard at that anymore because everybody tells everybody through everybody, in social media. So somebody who's part of, is a BMW owner, but he happens to have a Z model, guess what? They're calling me all the time. They're like, I want to be a part of your stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Wrong Z. You're Z, wrong one.
Yeah. Well, they can reach you through the website.
Yeah, of course. zclubamerica.com.
Yeah,
we do that. I really wish I could have 3 of me because then I could really keep that thing moving more time. I get so much we have stories, Z owner stories that we tell there. You can just, if you're not, the person that wants to tell a whole story, just send us your picture of you and your car. We add that in there. I have a resource center in there that's got a bunch of diagrams on wiring or pistons or transmission bolts. All these kinds of stuff is in there. We have a store in there that is just, some merchant apparel and stuff like that. Largely we got, and it's expensive crap. Because it is. It's all this old vintage stuff that we used to have. It's the old original patches from back in the 70s and 80s and the different, that sort of stuff. So there's not a lot of that inventory around, so that's why I jack the prices up on it.
Well, it's limited supply.
Sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it.
But, and then there's our legacy story is available to the people, and we have... it's growing. It's going to keep going and keep going, and I'll just keep making it a really nice home, so that there are those answers to those questions that people want to ask.
Right. Well, I'm excited. I'm glad you came in, and
I'm stoked.
This is a great story.
We forgot something.
What's that?
Again, to do. Well, 2 things we forgot. We forgot
at the top of the show.
Yeah. Well, we forgot the tip line, but we forgot to ask our guest, Jeffrey here. What's he driving?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So my daily is a 22 Nissan Armada.
On brand. You're on brand.
Absolutely. And the best part about that 22 is that for that year, Nissan really bolstered the tow package. So I've got an 8,500 pound.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. So
is that a V8 still?
It's a monster.
Wow.
I open the hood and I go, okay, close the hood. I don't even know what all
Before
that crap
it bites
is.
you, right?
Absolutely. I don't know what any of that shit is. But it sure makes towing the race cars around a whole lot easier. It's really great.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot to ask.
I want to know what the race cars are. Well, I think our viewers want to know what the race cars are.
So I have a 260 chassis with a newly built Stage 2 L24 in it. And one of the things of my checkered past is that I was in the racing school industry for a while. I was the marketing manager for Skip Barber Racing. I went through the Skip Barber programs.
Oh, cool.
That's how I developed my skill set. And after 8 years, I sold that trucking company that I created to sponsor myself, and I had enough money and went straight to Skip Barber again and said, I need to work here. I'll sweep floors. I don't care what it is, anything at all. And sure enough, I got myself in there, and I kind of went through the rookie stage, but everybody knew that I was already more mature and had a game going on, and so worked myself up through the company and then became the marketing manager there and stayed there for a while. And then as things go, it's time to go. And right after that, I had the opportunity. So as soon as I left there, and I don't remember how that connection happened, but do you guys remember Jim Hall Kart Racing School?
Oh, yeah. I know Jim Hall.
I know Jim Hall, too, because he hired me. He says, I understand you're available. And I was like, yeah. And so I don't remember the details of how that worked out. But here's the best part of that story is Jim decided that he would fly me out so I could come check out his school and be his marketing manager. And I said, okay, great. I'm at Pocono this weekend. I was still on the East Coast. And I'll fly me out Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. So I'm out at Pocono with Joe Casella's GTU Z, and it's a monster. And so I get to Jim Hall's place, and I'm thinking I'm pretty badass because now I'm driving a GTU car. I got skill, I got game. And then he gets me into the cart, and it humbled my ass out so fast.
Oh yeah,
I was like, this is ridiculous.
yeah.
I thought I had a knowledge base. I don't know nothing.
Wow.
So I have such respect for karts and karting.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate training tool.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. You cannot make mistakes because there's no horsepower to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
So best training ever is in karts. So that's what gets me out to Ventura, because I'm working for him.
Oh.
Yeah. So why were we on that?
Your 260.
Thank you.
Yes.
The 260.
Yeah, the monster, yeah.
The 260 came out here with me. So, okay. Are you really ready to quit? Because I can go on for hours.
Yeah. We're only 45 minutes into it.
This is great. These are good. This is another story. So now it's time we're going to move out to California. Jim's offered me this job. I'm going to take it. I'm going to move from New Jersey. My 260, no, I don't have the 260. It's still a 240. And I asked the guys down at Joe Casella's Z Center, I said, please do some work to it. I forget what he asked. Anyway, I get a call from them. They say, you better come down here right now. I said, okay. What happened? So I get down there. Yeah, exactly. Never good words to hear.
Yeah.
The guys went to put the car up on the lift, and apparently the body of the car just
folded.
The rust it started to fold in on itself. Because I had no idea, but the chassis was done.
Oof.
Junk. But that particular motor just was the creamiest, best L24 I just loved that motor. So, turned out Casella had a 260 sitting in his lot that had no motor in it. I'm sitting here with this gem of a motor and a origami Z. So I had them throw that L24 into the 260. And so now I've got a car, drive it all the way out here, make the move. I'm living in Ventura. Real recent after getting out here, I go to get in my car, and my car's gone. My car got stolen out of my apartment complex. And the funniest part for me is that I stood in that empty, like you had assigned parking slots, I stood in that like forever.
Like it could be hiding somewhere.
How can this be?
Did it roll away?
I was just here. This is where it belongs. And then it occurred to me also, I was like, wait a minute. When I came home last night, I had no gas in this. I rolled in on fumes, but it was okay because there was a Shell gas station right around the corner. So I was like, okay, I'll get that in the morning. So I reported to the police, tell them all the side that, yeah, sorry, no problem, blah, 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 blah. 1 year later, I assume the car has been
dismantled.
It's, Mexico, who knows where it is. The parts are all over the place. It's gone. I get a call, and it's the Ventura police. And they say, are you the owner of this blue 260Z with New Jersey license plates on it? And I said, as a matter of fact, I am. And they said, we have your car. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And they go, no. So the story is that they found it the next morning at the gas station right around the corner from me. But because it had New Jersey plates, and back in the day, we couldn't just go online and find out whose car it was from New Jersey. They put it in their impound, and it spent more than a year in the impound.
Oh, jeez.
And what the detective told me was that the cost to the police department for housing my car at that facility for more than a year exceeded the entire budget that the police department had for all their impounds for the year. And that the cops were kind of in trouble because, but in fairness to them, they couldn't, I don't know why or how. I mean, you had my license plate on there. I still had the Jersey plates on there. So how they didn't find it, but anyway, I got the car back.
Wow. So they pickled your car for a year, basically.
Yeah. So I had the car, got the car back, and by this point, I'm running I drove a 924 Porsche at that point. So I was like, no, I love my Porsche. I'm fine. I don't, I'll just take this. I'm going to turn this into an ITS racer, and I'll have some fun with it. Well, the poor thing spent dang near 3 decades in storage. Didn't really ever get around to the project life, business, all the things you do. You just and then one day had a phone call with a buddy of mine from New Jersey, childhood friend, and told him about all the great stuff I was doing in my world. And he says, well, what do you do for fun? And that knocked me back. And I was like, he says, do you still have that car? I said, yeah, I do. He says, go get it and start working on it. Sure enough. So now I put another 10 years into the car of just, slowly building it up. So it's more in what would be the SCCA's C production class car, but not completely technically. But my point was that it's got 2 seats in that because I think I'd like to get back into teaching. Because while I was at Skip Barber and Jim Hall, you're immediately an instructor, and then I actually became an instructor. I was an instructor for the Z Club of America at their events, and then when I left Jim Hall and got out of the racing school industry, I had this knowledge base of all my competitors, all the racing schools around the world. And I thought that was a terrible waste to just take that knowledge base and run off with it. So I published a book called The Racing School Directory for 7 years. I self-published a book.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Right here. Yeah. And it was available on Amazon, which was at the time, it was just like an online library. That's all Amazon was, They were just into books, and that's how I got my product out there and did that sort of stuff. So that's that part of the story.
I would encourage you to do that, one, because teaching, especially in motorsports and car trades. I mean, we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks about dying trades. Yeah. And how things are just dying off and things that need to be passed down because things you can't learn in a classroom. Yeah. That's one of them. Yeah. Instruction on racing or driving, basically. And I actually just got this idea, and I think being the executive producer of the show, we're going to do it. I'm not going to ask anybody. Is that what we're going to do is we're going to go to a track day. Okay. And you're going to put CJ and Dan and Helm in the driver. I mean, I'm a willing participant, so you don't have to worry about me. But these are all people that have either never been to a track day or never even thought about doing it because it's just not something they're into. Especially Helm. You haven't met him yet, but he thinks all that stuff is cool. He's never done it. He's a scared little Filipino guy.
Can he do it in a Mercedes wagon? Sure.
But see, the thing is that when I got instruction on the track, it was the best day of my driving career because I learned things like little things, the less is more kind of thing. Yeah. When I learned that stuff on the track, I was like, oh my God, I don't need a lot of power. I just need to know how to drive. Yeah. And I had the time of my life. It was the best thing. And I did it when my S13 was stock. That's why I said I had the most fun when my cars were stock because it's just you and driving. You don't need it had 140 horsepower maybe, and I feel like that instruction that I got that day was life-changing. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people, especially younger people, need to experience. And people who want to go drifting, that's cool. And people want to go road racing, that's cool. But someone needs to teach people these things, and they're far and few between. Yeah. One, that are qualified, and two, that are willing to do it. Yeah. So I would highly encourage you to do that, and we would be glad to be a part of that. I want to throw all you guys, especially Helm, into the driver's seat because it'd be hilarious.
One of the coolest things about teaching is it makes you a better driver yourself. Yeah. Because as I sit there and I find these little nuanced things that, this person just has I got to kind of get through their brain a little bit. I've told them 4 times already they're not doing it. And you really kind of, but you learn more about yourself because then you're like, I got to practice what I preach. I can't do it this way and then go do some other crap my own way. It's like, that's not going to work. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we got a plan going forward. Sounds like Gabe just made it for us.
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be great.
So the other car I have then is it's a 71 240Z that now has a 280 punched out to 3.0. Full GT2 car, was built by some hacks somewhere. It's got some muy feo pieces to it that I put decals on shit to hide stuff. Yeah. But the car was built, I think in the mid 80s, and so it's a true vintage racer. I've got 3 or 4 SCCA logbooks to go with it. So that's my new favorite toy, and that's fun. And we got the motor finally built and into the car just a couple of days before this All Japan Showdown. So the motor is not broken in yet. It's been heat cycled a few times, but it's not ready to go full out. So anyway, I took it to the Showdown event just for display purposes, show off, show and tell time, that sort of thing.
People like looking at it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's red, white, and blue in the Bob Sharp color.
Oh, cool.
And that sort of thing. So
that was one thing about the Nissan race cars. They were the coolest looking race cars back in the day, especially the Stillen 300ZX. Was it the GTU car or whatever?
Yeah. Well, it was actually GTO.
GTO, yeah. That thing. I mean, I had a poster over there. You're giving it away at a Stillen event. I was like, oh, such a cool looking race car, dude. And then in the red, white, and blue colors, I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Always been. So, and if you're going to be Z Club of America, hello, why not be red, white, and blue?
Right.
That's definitely on brand. That's cool.
Yeah. So I love that thing too. It's a beast. It's a monster.
We appreciate you coming down the road and coming down to visit us at West of Tulsa. It's very interesting.
Can I just tell you one more thing too about Tulsa?
Sure.
I on a show I was producing for Outdoor Channel, I think, I wound up working with them in Tulsa, had to go there on and off probably a couple months at a time. And I remember that some restaurant that was convenient to us, someplace, they did deep fried avocados.
Oh,
I had never even heard that. Never
in Tulsa too.
In Tulsa, of all places, they take they somehow know how to skin it so that you're standing there holding a raw meat avocado, and they do a deep fry to it. Nothing happier has ever gone down my throat. That's the bomb.
So we got to make a trip to Tulsa just to try that.
That
figure out what
delicious.
Place
it was killer.
Dang. Deep fried really avocado good. In Tulsa.
In Tulsa.
Yeah. You heard it here, folks.
So, there you go.
Heard it here for the first time.
That's
All right, Jeffrey Willerth, we really appreciate you coming and talking to it. Very interesting. And again, if anybody's interested in participating, joining.
Women
too. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Wanted.
And also, too, again, the reason why Jeffrey's here is because he reached out to us and shared a little tidbit about what he's doing. And we, of course, thought it was awesome, and we wanted to share it with the world.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage everybody who's listening, if you've made it this far into the show, to reach out to us. Send us a message to the tip line. Here's the plug.
There you go.
And or just DM us, but if you can, message us on the tip line, because we want to hear your story. And Jeff, thank you for your story. Your story is amazing, and I hope the Z Club America takes off again, and you start teaching again, because I think that would be amazing to see.
Thank you very much for that.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Love this opportunity. Love you guys, and you're doing great stuff.
Thank you.
We need it. We need it.
All right, so like, follow, and subscribe. We also have our YouTube
channel.
Thank you. And we thank you very much for listening and for watching, and we will see you west of Tulsa.